Mr. Mayor, we are live.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Oro-Medonte Council meeting of November 26, 2025. Before reading the land acknowledgement, I'd like to address some housekeeping items. Please silence your cell phones when in chamber. And when you come up to speak during open forum and or give deputations, please adjust the mic at the podium so you're speaking directly into the end of it, as this meeting is being live streamed and recorded for YouTube, so it could be viewed after the meeting as well if anyone would like to do so. The Township of Oro-Medonte acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people and ancestral territory of the Huron-Wendat. The Anishinaabe include the Odawa, the Ojibwa, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. It continues today as the home for diverse Indigenous peoples, including the historic Métis community in Penetanguishene. The Anishinaabe people continue to have an enduring relationship with this land, specifically the Chippewas of Rama First Nations, the Chippewa Tri-Council, and the Williams Treaties First Nations. The Huron-Wendat Nation also continues to pay the respect and protect their ancestors and heritage on this land. We honor the Indigenous history and culture that has thrived for millennia in this territory and the treaties that bind us together as partners in the spirit of a shared, sustainable, and prosperous future. We're all treaty people. Our commitment begins by acknowledging the truth so that we can move forward towards reconciliation. Miigwech. Madam Clerk, may we have a draft motion to adopt the agenda, please?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that the agenda for the council meeting of Wednesday, November 26, 2025 be received and adopted as amended. To add as item 14D, correspondence dated November 25, 2025 from Municipal Affairs and Housing, Ontario supporting growth in Simcoe County, and Bill 76, Oro-Medonte Springwater Boundary Adjustment Act 2025 legislative of Ontario.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. Can we also have a motion to go past 4 hours if necessary, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that Rule 14.20A, as per the procedural bylaw number 2023-043, be suspended in order to allow the meeting to proceed past the 4-hour adjournment requirement if necessary.
Thank you very much. All in favor? That is carried. Are there any pecuniary interest to disclose at this time by any members of council? Seeing none. May we have a motion to go into closed session, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Young, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that we do now go into closed session at 3:04 p.m. to discuss litigation affecting the municipality, solicitor-client privilege, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to, and any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, intermunicipal relationship, City of Barrie, litigation affecting the municipality, solicitor-client privilege, ward boundary appeal.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. And I think for those in chamber, we shouldn't be any more than 40 minutes, but we're, but I think 35-40 minutes is how long we'll be. Thank you. Okay, everybody, we'll see everyone in
please count us in? Mr. Mayor, we're live.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Welcome back, everybody online, and welcome everyone to the chamber. May we have a motion to rise and report out on the closed session items, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that we do now rise at 3:36 p.m. And report out on closed session item 4B.
All in favor? That is carried. May we have a draft motion for item 4B, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved, that the verbal information presented by Sean Binns, CAO, litigation affecting the municipality, solicitor-client privilege, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, intermunicipal relationships, City of Barrie, be received.
All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. And we have no recognitions of achievements. And oh, sorry. May we have a draft motion for the 3 sets of minutes, please?
I'll just need a moment to
Yeah, that's my.
move between. Moved by Bard, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that the draft minutes of the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting held on Thursday, August 28, 2025, and Tuesday, November 4th, 2025 be received. That the draft minutes of council meeting held on November the 12th, 2025 be received and adopted as printed and circulated. And that the draft minutes of the Heritage Committee meeting held on Monday, November the 17th, 2025 be received, and that the recommendations therein per motion numbers HC 25-1117-3, HC 25-1117-5, and HC 25-1117-9 be adopted.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, Madam Clerk. That carries. There are no recognitions of achievements and introductions this week or public meetings scheduled. So we're now on item 8, deputation presentations. Michael McMurder and Doug Sexsmith, if you'd like to come towards the podium, they're going to give a deputation information Aurelia regarding the update of service offered by the information Aurelia. Please continue, and welcome to the chamber first and foremost. And please continue when ready, please.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor and councilors and everybody, for allowing us to present today on behalf of Information Aurelia. My name is Doug Sexsmith, and I am the interim vice chair. I'm not related to Ron Sexsmith, unless it helps me, and then we've been like this forever. With me today is Mike McMurder, who's the interim chair for Information Aurelia. So I guess the general question would be, is anyone familiar with Information Aurelia? No, perfect. Okay. So Information Aurelia has been around for 50 years. And in that 50 years, we've developed a very strong brand. In the beginning stages, when Mike and I took ownership after an existential moment, which was exactly 100 days ago, we realized that the brand was well known amongst the people that we work with, but not really good at messaging outside of that, and hence the question. So back in the spring and early summer, Information was, as we mentioned, faced with a significant but not insurmountable challenges. So as Mike and I have decided, I have a background in real estate, so we're fond of saying the house is solid, but it's time to renovate and take it back to the studs, and that's exactly what we've been doing and are going to continue to do. We rolled up our sleeves and got down to work refreshing, rebuilding, and restructuring Information Aurelia. Today our presentation is about what the new Information Aurelia is and what we're doing going forward. So before we start, we do want to thank and acknowledge ideas and guidance and encouragement from Mayor McIsaac, Councillor Durnford, Councillor Twerchuk, and of course, Councillor Lauer, who sits on our board. Next slide, please. We developed a strong board because in meetings with the mayor was fully supported, provided we had indicated key performance indicators. And if we met those key performance indicators, he would be in support of our endeavors. So the first thing, first order of business was to build a strong board, which we have done. We have, of course, Councillor Tim Lauer, who sits on our board. We have Melissa Robertson from the Aurelia Public Library, who's the Director of Corporate and Operational Services. We have Wes Erskine, who is a long 34-year retired staff sergeant of the OPP and incredibly involved in community development while he was in the force and has been since. Susan Scheichel, who's a VP of Governance for a large media firm and is all things financial for Information Aurelia and has been for 5 years. We have Mike McMurder, who is well connected with just about everyone. Myself, who has spent many years in different businesses, mostly from an operational standpoint. And we do have a new member that's joining the board, as a matter of fact, tonight, Mr. Kyle Peacock, who owns his own business, and the company's, he's the principal in the company, and it's Peacock Tariff Consulting. So what does Information Aurelia do? Well, Information Aurelia does a number of things, but the key aspects is the front door, income tax clinic, volunteer management, client contact support, and just general information. So first of all, the front door service. And again, we're talking about systems navigation, which seems to be the phrase used more commonly these days. We have been systems navigation, and legitimately systems navigation, for well over 50 years. Many of the nonprofit organizations that exist in Aurelia today were born out of the fact that Information Aurelia deemed that there was a necessity for them. So the front door is like a help desk for those who are in need and don't know where to find it. And that's why the expression we use, it's the place to go when you don't know where to go. We're the leading agency in this type of systems navigation, and we break down the problems for the people that are coming into manageable solutions and refer them to the appropriate community services. In essence, we are the funnel for our clients to other community services. We can talk briefly, although it's a major part of what we do. It's the income tax clinic. From Aurelia and Area Food Strategy, income is key, and free low-cost tax clinics and income supports put critical dollars back into households. I know that the coined phrase these days is food insecurity, but we believe that we are poverty reduction. So when you reduce poverty, food insecurity becomes not as critical. In 2024, we did income taxes for 1,500 clients with an average income of only $20,000 and resulted of $3.5 million put back in the pockets of these folks and, of course, back into the community. And we found in doing research that those people actually make wise decisions when they have money in their pocket, as well as it affords them dignity. That's the real money in our clients' pockets, allowing them with dignity, as I had mentioned, to make their own choices for food and housing. And it put $3.5 million back into our local community. This is a win for our clients and a win for our local economy. Because they completed their income tax, they now qualify for various benefits as dental, disability, and child tax benefits, CPP, OAS, GIS, and affordable housing, thus putting more money in their pockets. We are hoping to be able to partner for those that are in need in Oro-Medonte through this tax clinic. Nice. We also are, it fell by the wayside during our interim, but we are back on a line again with volunteer management. So we're harnessing that as a valuable asset in the community. We're redeveloping our volunteer service. Our initial focus will be on seniors that make up 25% of the population in Aurelia. As an added benefit, this provides seniors with purpose and socialization opportunities. Next slide. Client contact support. Many of the people that we deal with don't have a cell phone, they don't have access to a computer, they don't have an actual mailing address. We provide all of that for them when they come in. So because you don't have a permanent address, obviously you can't get checks. And because you don't have a telephone, you can't make calls to be able to resolve issues that you have. As well as the permanent address and the mail drop so you can actually collect your mail from us as well. We are an information hub for wayfinding and tourism. So amidst all of the nonprofit sectors that we work with as collaborative partners, we also do answer questions relative to tourism and wayfinding. So we'll have somebody coming in wondering where the Laycock Center is, how they get to Tudhope Park, what's going on at the Opera House. So we will always provide information that way too as well. Our new vision. Well, as we move forward, this is our new vision. To be run as a business. Our initial discussions with council and with the mayor was very often nonprofits have a tendency to run sort of feast or famine. Our commitment was to run it as a sustainable, viable, credible business. So we'll be looking at additional income streams and ways to be able to support the community and to be able to support our community business partners. One additional person that I've waited to this point to mention is Alan LaFontaine, who is actually the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, and he's on our board as well. Also in responsible and head of the Rotary Club in Orillia. So we have made presentations before them. And we would prefer to be a hands-up organization as opposed to a hands-out organization. We plan to be the best at what we do. We plan to be a very good community business partner. And we want to enhance our credibility and value, which took a back seat not that long ago. We're working very hard at that. And we want to commit to continuous improvement. So, actions. As we move forward with these, the actions we're implementing, we stabilize the organization, as I mentioned, and taking it back to the studs. We have an operations manager. We had a decision to make as to whether we hired an executive director or whether we went with an operations manager. Our key, as it has been successful in all of our movement, is to focus. We found in the past executive directors were burnt out because they were asking them to be an inch deep and a mile wide. So our focus as a business, and certainly as we're going forward, is on sustainable relations with people, building relations with purpose, taking on projects with purpose. And the operations manager's sole responsibility and focus is on putting together a support team that is bar none. They will focus entirely on that, where in the past an executive director would be doing grants and whatever. We've taken the grant responsibility away from the operations manager, and that is now one of our board members. When we talk about our board, we're not a hierarchical board, we are a linear board. So we provide mentorship to people that come in and that are working on our behalf. So our front door person, our operations manager, we provide whatever information they require. They can call on any one of us for the years and years and years of business experience that we have. We're open to any and all ideas to be able to move our agenda forward. Well, we're redoing our website with assistance for Lakeland, which has proven to be really successful. We had a young lady recently who spent 12 weeks with us and managed to correct a lot of problems we had with our website. We'll probably launch that at the beginning of next year. We have also worked with Lakeland going forward in additional capacities, whether it's legal capacities, whether it's our business students. So we're working at getting student placements in our building, and reposition our brand and normalize our partnerships using MOUs. So thank you. And I mean that sincerely, because we are currently working with the county in the hopes of getting their support. One of the hopes is that we could get some sort of written support from Oro-Medonte in our endeavors to be able to get support from the county on what we're doing. And every day at IO, we have clients dropping in that are lost, confused, overwhelmed with limited options and limited resources. They need help, and Information Orillia is at the forefront of this emergency. It's our job to listen, break down their problems into management solutions, and refer them to relevant services. And again, the front door to services in Orillia. So, Mr. Mayor, councilors, we are a hands-up organization. Information Orillia is completely aligned with the City of Orillia and the county's commitment to help our most vulnerable by mitigating homelessness, food insecurity, and reducing poverty in our community. And again, we thank you for this opportunity. I hope we can count on you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sexton and Ms. Smith. I get it mixed up in Mr. Murmur. Council, is there any questions for the gentleman at this time? Councilor Shell.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mayor Greenlaw. Did I catch an address, location, how people can connect with you?
Where our offices are in the library on the Andrew Street end, in Aurelia Public Library.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. And online?
We have a web presence. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So we just type in
Information Aurelia.
information, really?
And
Thank
boom, there
Boom.
it is.
Kaboom. Thanks.
Councilor Young.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. What are your hours? Is it a Monday to Friday thing?
So right now we're running Monday to Thursday. We're using Fridays for in-service training, those kinds of things. It's really important as we build our team that we're building a team, so we've cut out some time. So we're open from 10 to 5 Monday to Thursday right now. In the new year, that'll probably change, but as we transition from where we were to where we want to be, we've made that hard decision. Okay.
Any other questions? So just one question I have. So as you plan to branch out and expand, what do you think the capacity of your organization is in the next year or two?
Right now, we're bringing in we're expanding, okay, in a sustainable way, because I'm sure you've seen organizations or companies, scale up and they're not sustainable. So our goal is to remain sustainable, but to scale up. So I did a presentation some time ago at the food strategy and poverty reduction that was at the library, I think about 2 months ago. And one of the things that after they were talking about food insecurity, I said, we run the income tax clinic. These are our stats. We're putting money into people's pockets. We're putting money into the economy. So then I had agencies and one particular township come up and say, can we partner with you? So we're moving our agenda in terms of the income tax clinic from having people just come to us to be more proactive. So if you're interested in partnering with us, we could send a team out here, work with those people that could come in here, and that helps you, that helps us, those kinds of things. So that's a new strategic direction for us. We're working with agencies. So for example, you take the food bank, and as people are going through, and getting food, we're going to say, have you done your income tax? Here's a card if you haven't done your income tax. Go get your income tax done. And you can see federally where they're moving in that particular direction anyways, because we've seen, that all these benefits have been offered to people, but they're not getting them, okay? So we help them get over that hump. The federal government is starting to recognize that. So I guess we're ahead of the curve on some of this stuff, okay? And we would love to partner with you. As Doug said, if you like this idea and you could support it, we're also reaching out to the county for some funding, and we'd certainly like some written support if that's possible. But we certainly would like to partner with you. And as Doug called it, he said, building relationships with purpose. So part of our catchment area is Oro-Medonte. We haven't reached out in that area very far, but I think this is a great opportunity to build a relationship with purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, and I think it's a great initiative and a great opportunity that you're presenting tonight. So thank you. And Madam Clerk, if there's no more questions, can we have a motion to receive, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that the deputation by Michael McMurder and Doug Sexsmith, Information Aurelia, be updated on the services offered by Information Aurelia, be received.
All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, so now we're at 8B, which is the 2026 budget presentations from outside agencies. So I'd like to welcome everyone to the chamber tonight. And the first up would be Meet the Motivators. So if the presenters from Meet the
They are online,
they're online,
Mr. Mayor.
because no
So
one was
Jacqueline
moving
Dixon?
around in the seats. It was kind of concerning me.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. I was very nervous, wondering if my connection was solid. Okay, good to know that. Please let me know if I can proceed.
Please do.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Councilors. It's an honor and privilege to have this opportunity to speak to you today. Virtually, it was my intention to be there in person, but circumstances and situations. However, my intention today is to bring awareness to the City Council about a passion project that I have been delivering in various different communities for the past 10 years successfully. I am the founder of a not-for-profit organization called Meet the Motivators. Next slide, please. Meet the Motivators is a not-for-profit organization that focuses on celebrating women in leadership. And we do that by educating, inspiring, and empowering young girls and women into moving into positions of leadership, whether it be in the community or their careers. Reason that I emphasize community and career and value them at the same level is because of my lived experience of being a career leader myself and knowing that many career leaders today would not be where they are if it not be for a community leader, somebody who was able to nurture them, mentor them, and see within them at a very early stage the potential that they had for success. So we need to always constantly be mindful of the fact that we need to keep these unsung heroes replenished. We've got to replenish the pipeline of community leaders so that they can eventually continue to evolve and motivate our women, young women and girls into moving into career leadership roles. Next slide. Now, I've been doing this successfully by hosting a symposium each year. And the symposium has been, yes, please, let's go to that next slide that we were at. The symposium has been held at various different university and college campuses throughout Southern Ontario. And what we do is we recreate a day in high school on day one. And then on day two, we have a red carpet gala. Now, obviously, I might have some bent up issues with my high school days, why I want to recreate that. But nonetheless, so what we do is in a university or college setting, we offer a plethora of workshops that are focused on personal and professional development. Each workshop is delivered by a trained expert or professional in that particular industry or sector. And why we're doing that is because what we want to do is we want to re-engage our attendees in a school setting. We want, and many of them have left high school, college, or university, have not returned in years. And if you remember how things worked in high school, you would start off in a homeroom, which is where we start our group, in a homeroom. And then from there, they fan off and they choose their electives for the day. So they are going to choose their timetable. Maybe they want to take mental health workshops. Maybe they want to take skilled trades workshop. Maybe they want to learn how to open up a business or do marketing. It's all up to them. Or maybe they simply want to skip a class or two and hang out in homeroom where there's always information sharing. So this is what we're doing on day one. We roll up our sleeves, we get to work, lots of high fives, fist bumping, all of that happening. And it's just a euphoric experience for so many of them. And then what we do on day two is we then we then enter into the celebratory part of the weekend where we have a red carpet gala and we go to a banquet hall. We get all dolled up and we celebrate the achievements of the previous day. This has been such a moving milestone experience for so many young women and girls that it became clearly evident to us 2 years ago that they need this for more than just a weekend. They need
Miss
this.
Dixon, I just
I'm
want to.
sorry.
I just want to ask something because I know your deck has like 40 some slides, and I know we try to keep our deputations to 10 minutes. So I don't want to.
I'm not going through 43 slides. I'll probably go through about 12.
No. I don't. One thing I don't like to cut people off, and I didn't want to know if I had to break from procedure to allow.
Oh,
more
no,
time. So
don't
no.
worry.
Okay, no, thank you.
Don't
I appreciate
worry.
that. My apologies.
I'm aware that that I sent the full deck ahead of the presentation, and I was clear to tell them that I'm only going to highlight about 12
Okay.
12 of the slides. Okay, so but thank you for that.
I just added 45 seconds for my interruption.
I appreciate it. Okay. Anyway, so you've got the whole ideal or concept about the 2-day symposium. So we're past that now. Next slide. So we have since then decided to develop a 9-month mastermind, and we have named it the Resilient Woman Program. So from that 2-day symposium that has been held, we've now given birth to Resilient Woman, and I'll just quickly read what it focuses on. The Resilient Woman Program is a trauma-informed initiative created to support women who have faced significant challenges, including experiences as ex-offenders, survivors of sexual assault, gender-based violence, mental health struggles, depression, and even suicidal ideation. Our program pillars are intentionally designed to address these complex issues by providing holistic solutions that nurture healing, resilience, and self-determination. At the heart of our approach is a strong emphasis on financial upward mobility and sustainability. We believe that the most effective way to empower women is through economic independence, equipping them with the tools, training, and resources to provide for themselves and their households. Financially empowered women are more confident, they make stronger decisions, and are far less likely to return to precarious circumstances or cycles of violence. So, by combining trauma recovery with pathways of entrepreneurship, education, and skills development, Resilient Women creates an environment where participants can not only heal from their past trauma, but also build a secure and thriving future for themselves and their family. Next slide. Now, I am totally aware now of the restraints that City Council has in regards to funding. So the 9-month mastermind might not be something that you're going to be able to fully fund, if you even decide to fund at all. But it's possible you might be able to contribute towards it. In the event that we're not able to bring the 9-month mastermind to Oro-Medonte, we do have what we would call a boot camp version, which lasts a 3-day period of time that will address all the 3 pillars, as well as cultural knowledge as well, which is going to be presented. I quickly, to let you know, as the founder, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm a professional speaker. I'm a member of the Canadian Black History Society, and trainer for over 30 years. And my lived experience as a successful entrepreneur and business person, and the fact that I am also an Oro-Medonte resident who has drank the Kool-Aid on Oro-Medonte, is what really drives me to want to share. Honestly, I think I should be working for the tourist board of Oro-Medonte. I just talk about it all the time because I truly love it. And we have so much to offer. And I've been doing that in my own way. And I think I've been making an impact. Next slide. Here are some of the champions, very, very quickly, of that have stood up for our organization in person by being present at our red carpet gala. Patty Levitt-Reed. Next slide. Dr. Jean Augustine, celebrated activist, community builder, as I'm sure you know. Next slide. Margaret Trudeau, mental health advocate and former First Lady of Canada and mother to a previous Prime Minister. Julie Black. These are just to name a few that have come on board as our keynote speakers at our red carpet galas in the past. Next slide. These are some of the charities that we're aligned with. CAMH. Next slide. Dr. Jean Augustine Center for Women and Young Girls. Next slide. In the Resilient Women program, we have our mission, or our tagline is, our story is our strength. That means that in many cases, women have a story. All of us do have a story, realistically. But what we try to encourage women that join our program is that story that so many people maybe have used to try to shame you, or you've used internally to shame yourself, is really not a shame barrier for your success. It's actually your superpower. And if harnessed correctly, you can use that in order to blossom in life. So we tell and teach and train our attendees that the story and the situation that they've been through is actually their superpower. And we teach them how to harness that. Next slide. Programs are held in class. Next slide. We foster a really inclusive space. We have 3 cohorts in the Resilient Women program. Success as an entrepreneur, led by myself and 2 other experts. The second cohort, mental health wellness, absolutely a must for success in any area of our life. And the third, non-traditional careers, which focuses on STEM as well as skilled trades. Next slide. Success as an entrepreneur focuses on the 3 most important areas of entrepreneurial success. I've seen other organizations teach entrepreneurship, but as a person who is an entrepreneur and a successful one, I can tell you that for the most part, they're not putting all the 3 main ingredients together. To be a successful entrepreneur and a sustainably successful entrepreneur, you need to master sales, marketing, and customer service. 2 out of 3 isn't going to cut it. You need to have all 3 understood. You need to understand all 3 disciplines. Next, and this is what we teach through this first cohort. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. These are our experts. Keep going. Sorry, keep going. Next slide. Mental health wellness. Again, this cohort is led by expert professionals in their trade. Trained and certified psychotherapists will lead this workshop and provide individual counseling, support groups, and in class. Next slide. We have also resource libraries for every cohort that we provide. Resource libraries that offer accessible information. We provide self-paced learning, and we constantly are doing follow-ups and check-ins. Next slide. These are just the 3 mental health experts that run the mental health program. Continue. Keep going. Keep going. Non-traditional careers. What are we doing with this cohort? Skill building, apprenticeship opportunities, mentorship programs, certification assistance, follow-up and placement support. Next slide. This is our skilled trades expert, Desiree Smith, who is our main facilitator for the Women in Skilled Trades. We also have a community partnership with the Carpenters Union that has been backing this organization for the past 4 years now in delivering our skilled trades workshop. Next slide. We also have our STEM expert, which is Tara, and Tara is a 20-year a corporate leader within IBM that teaches AI, and that's what we focus on right now. We want to teach women AI and understand how AI is integrated not just in the business world, but in your own personal life. Next slide. Now, that is the full 9-month program. And I realize the limitations of council. And I realize the budget that I put together for the 9-month program is $65K. Other organizations have done programs not even half as in-depth as that and have asked for twice or 3 times the amount of money. We've been able to successfully do that using my business skills for $65K. And I do understand now the limitations. So we have a secondary option, a skills development boot camp. This is an immersive 3-day training and healing experience that will include a condensed version of the 9-month mastermind into 4 expert facilitator-led sessions, along with guest speakers focused on personal development, leadership, and physical wellness. So the participants take part in an interactive exercise designed to build and address trauma-related issues, build confidence, discipline, and teamwork. Next slide. How do I know that? Because I've actually delivered this program already, right here in Oro-Medonte. What you're seeing is pictures of females that did sign up for this program the summer before last, and it was a total of 14, about us actually 12 women, and we were able to deliver this workshop over a 3-day period, which was just phenomenal. We were able to combine the skill training and development with the introduction of the historical retreats and the historical areas of Oro-Medonte and its very rich history. And participants who choose to take the skills development bootcamp will be able to engage in guided cultural and historical tours, including visits to Oro African Church, which we've already done in our pilot project, Sheffield Museum, and this powerful experience honors the legacy of the resilience of Black and Indigenous ancestors, of course, whose contributions helped shape the township and the broader region. Now, while these visits help encourage reflection, gratitude, and deeper appreciation for local history, fostering both health and healing, these visits will also help to build self-confidence in women of color, particularly newcomers. Next slide. So these are just some images that you're seeing of the retreat that took place the summer before last, leadership retreat. And the professional mentorship and networking that took place during this retreat was phenomenal. There were 2 women within this retreat that had not started a business yet at all. And the rest were at the beginning stage, with only 1 of the females actually running a business for 2 years or more. The access to the motivational speakers, again, phenomenal response or reviews, strong partnerships with local agencies that we currently have right now, such as the Barrie Women and Children's Shelter, along with the Carpenters Union and other educational institutions, ensure inclusivity, accessibility, and measurable community impact. Next slide. So this 3-day leadership retreat, which is the condensed version, this is what I think I would like to put forward in a very real and purposeful way, because the costs in order to deliver this program amount to $14,650. You can see the breakdown of all of the items listed. And this, again, I believe will have long and very purposeful meaning, and it is going to bring sustainable change to the women that participate in the program. Next slide. The full program, now community benefits, of course, is that, of course, we're going to be empowering women. We're going to be building confidence and independence along with local residents. Cultural tourism, heritage visits, promotes awareness of Oro-Medonte's historical significance. The economic development encourages entrepreneurship, and workforce participation. Community pride, of course, showcases Oro-Medonte as a leader in inclusivity, wellness, and women's leadership. Next slide. So the expected outcomes is that we're looking for anywhere between 10 to 25 women to complete the full 9-month program, 8 to 12 women to complete the 3-day boot camp, with 60%, which 60% will pursue employment, further education, or entrepreneurship, enhance mental health and resilience among participants, strengthen local partnerships and community engagement. Next slide. And of course, this is the detailed program budget for the 9-month mastermind so that you have it on record. Now, saying all of that, next slide, I would, it's the fastest I've spoken in a long time. hope I haven't gone over. And I'm not missing any important points. It's really important for me to emphasize the fact that we need your support. We need your support on multiple levels, not just because of the message that it's going to be sending about your support of gender-based issues. We have to recognize and accept the fact that women continue to face systemic barriers to leadership, often excluded from decision-making spaces that shape their lives and communities. In Ontario alone, gender-based violence remains pervasive and is rising. We know that there's an epidemic that has been called in Barrie, in the city of Barrie, where it comes to gender-based violence. The number of the increased number of residents that have fled from the GTA, they're moving into Simcoe region, and we know that because statistics bear that to be true. So, and we are getting a more of an increase in multiculturalism, multicultural residents. It's just, I believe that Oro-Medonte can really make a name for itself by offering the Resilient Women Program, which has been embraced in Toronto. I've been embraced in Peel Region. I've been embraced. I'm supported by municipal government in Toronto and provincial government. I don't have any support in my hometown, and I'm looking to bring this program home.
Okay, thank you, Miss Dixon. We'll take your presentation into advisement when we deliberate for budgets in the new year. The challenge we have is we pass a 2-year budget, and we'll have to see if what we would have to take off the plate in order to fit this on, because we are locked in for 2, and there won't be a new budget set forth until the new term of council. But as a rule, we set our budgets 2 years in 2-year increments. So we'd have to look and see at this time for it to make the 2026 budget, what would have to come off the table. So, but you know, I'm not saying, I'm optimistic we'll look and do what we can. But I do thank you very much for being a great advocate for this program and women in general. And I'll open the table up if the council has any questions regarding this presentation at this time. Councillor Hutchison. Sorry.
There you go. Thank you, Jacqueline, for your presentation. I don't know if you can see us. I'm the only female at the table here.
Yes.
But, and a lot of what you have said resonates with me because I've been involved with women in leadership programs before. And I think your first slide that shows some of the statistics as to, upskilling women generally will help our overall economy, and certainly women in general. So I was really, I think this is an important focus and clearly a passion project for you. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So
I will also let you know that there are some testimonials that are included in the slide if anybody should choose to go and take a look on your own free time.
Yeah, and I know council reviews all materials submitted in the agenda prior to, so we did look through it. It was a great presentation, very, very informative and very thorough. Council members, is there any other questions at this time? If not, I want to thank Ms. Dixon for coming. Thank you very much for coming and giving your presentation. And we will put it on our list of items that we need to review when we deliberate for our budget recalibration in January. Okay?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And don't worry, I'm still out there tooting the horn. Oro-Medonte.
That's good. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so next would be Mariposa House. If you would like to come up and adjust the mic so that you're speaking directly into the end of it, please, Ted. And then if you can keep it to 10 minutes, that would be great, just so we can get through everything in decent time. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and I am Ted Markle, Executive Director of Mariposa House Hospice.
And I am Emily Lazarus, the Manager of Clinical and Hospice Services at Mariposa House.
So we're going to share the mic and just tell our story. Next slide, please. Yep, so, and my message here is, since Mariposa House Hospice was founded and opened the doors in 2021, Oro-Medonte town has supported us, and for that, thank you. I just want to express our gratitude.
Next slide. So just a couple highlights from our last fiscal year. We cared for 112 residents at our hospice. Unfortunately, we were not able to accommodate 45 residents in the last year. That's the worst part of my job, having a family or a person call and tell me that they're ready and they need our hospice services, but our beds are full and we unfortunately can't accommodate them. That's a big reason why we're here today. We had an overall occupancy rate of 82% with an average length of stay of 14 days. And a big highlight for us last year was launching our grief and bereavement program. So now we're able to really capture that kind of end piece in the palliative journey as well, and holding those families through the next steps after they lose their loved one. And really exciting as well, we were successful in opening our 6th bed. So when we opened in 2021, we opened with 5 resident suites, and we were able to open bed number 6 in April of this last year.
This is mine? No, it's yeah.
So we also were able to replace all of our beds. We are grateful for support from Hospice Simcoe in Barrie. When we first opened, we were able to get some used beds from them. But with the big fundraising initiative in the community, we were able to purchase all new beds for our facility, many of which are what we call cuddle beds. And so these are fancy beds that can expand into a queen size and accommodate another person or maybe a few grandkids, and they can cuddle with their loved ones. So that's been very, very impactful for residents and their families. We have attended, we've had many of our community events that have been very well attended and have drove bottom line results. We have reinforced our relationships with the Couchiching Family Health Team, Hospice Aurelia, OSMH, and also the Ontario Health Teams. And we did work on delivering a new 5-year strategic plan that is going to help guide us through the next 5 years.
And so that strategic plan delivered those 6 strategic priorities that you see. I'm going to draw your attention really just to the first 2. The first one, ensuring financial resilience and sustainability. Mariposa House Hospice receives less than 50% of its annual operating funding from the Ministry of Health. So we are very active in fundraising every year. That means over $1 million. And we've been able to grow our donor base successfully, and we have a very disciplined approach to managing our balance sheet, and we can intend to continue to do so. The next point, expanding scale and scope of programs. We know that when we look out, our catchment area, which includes Oro-Medonte, of course, is going to more than double its population of people aged 75 and older in the next 20 years. The demand for our services is going to increase exponentially. We need to grow to continue to meet that demand. And that's why really the lodestar of our new strategic plan is an expansion project to add 4 additional rooms so we can become a 10-bed hospice. It's absolutely necessary so that Emily doesn't have to have more and more of those discussions with families who are desperate for a room for their loved one. This project is going to cost us $4.5 million to complete. I'm very happy to let you know that we've had a successful launch to our capital campaign. We've already raised close to 60% of that, but we know in all of these capital campaigns, it's the last 40% that's the toughest to get to. And that's really one of the reasons why we're here today. Next slide, please.
Next slide. Okay, so today we are here with 2 specific requests. Our first to continue our annual core operation funding of $12,000. And secondly, we are excited to ask for $35,000 towards our capital campaign so that we can make sure that this expansion happens.
And we're ready for your questions.
Okay. No, thank you very much. And, you know, I can't say enough about hospice. And, you know, it's a part of life where we all get to. And at that time, yeah, it's like staying at a 7-star hotel or a 10-star hotel on the way out, unfortunately. But it is class, and it's so much more comfortable and warming than in a hospital. Not that hospitals don't do an amazing job. It's just it's a much more institutionalized environment. So, members of council, do you have any questions? Councillor Young?
I'm just a bit curious about your staff. You're an RN yourself. How many other...
I am.
No, I saw that in the brochure you just handed out, but how many other staff members do you have, and how many are nurses or qualified?
So our staffing ratio, we always have a registered staff member and a PSW in the house 24/7 to provide that high quality palliative care. So I do have 4 full-time RNs and a couple part-time, and then a good list of casuals. And similarly with the PSW. So definitely the majority of our staff team are those high qualified palliative care staff.
Any other questions of members at this time? I want to thank you very much for the presentation, but I really want to thank you for all the great work that you do. And I know I've been to the Mariposa campus, and until you're told where it is, you wouldn't know where it is. But it is nestled nice into a bush lot, and it is a very nice place. You know, not that I said not that we want to be there, but it's nice that it's there to allow the work that you do be enjoyed by the people that are not in such a great spot.
Would you permit me add one more point?
Sure.
So I just wanted 2 things. One is, if it wasn't already clear, obviously a large proportion of our residents are Oro-Medonte citizens, and I want to express my gratitude to the group that came to support us today because of what hospice means to them. So I just wanted to make sure I made a point of pointing that out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you very much, and we will be back in January when we get a chance to ratify our budgets and go through everything. Madam Clerk, can we have a motion to receive the deputations, please?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that the 2026 budget presentations presented by Meet the Motivators and Mariposa House Hospice be received and referred to the 2026 budget deliberations.
All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much for everyone who presented tonight. So we're now on to identifications of anything on the agenda that anyone would like to have move forward because they can't stay for the entire meeting. Seeing none, then we'll move to open forum. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone registered to speak during open forum tonight?
No, Mr. Mayor, we do not.
Okay, thank you. Is anyone in the audience would like to speak to any of the items on the agenda tonight? So if you could just come to the mic, adjust it so that you're speaking directly into the end of it, and just state your name and continue when ready, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, and through you to council members and the members of the audience. I'm going to try to get through this. It might be tough. My name is Kelly Shelswell, and I'd just like to express our family's experience with Mariposa House Hospice, just in hopes it will strengthen the request for funding that they made here today. So our family firsthand got to experience the environment and care and compassion from the staff, doctors, volunteers, and everyone involved in Mariposa House Hospice a couple years ago, almost 2 years now. As many of you know, the Shelswell family is quite large. However, both sides of our family are large and have deep roots here in Oro. Sorry, I just need a second. From the Lees, the Scotts, the Crawfords, the Strands, the Simpsons, the Forresters, just name a few of those families. But with large families come large losses. My grandma had a series of heart attacks and strokes that took her from being a very independent 93-year-old woman to being bedridden in a matter of weeks. She was bounced around from RVH to soldiers, and every time our family went to see her, it was a somber experience. As many of you, I'm sure, can agree, and as Mayor Greenlaw said, hospitals have a place. However, visiting them are hard for a lot of people, and they're hard on the patient as well. Semi-private rooms or ward rooms make things very uncomfortable, and it's hard to have emotional conversations. When my grandma decided to cease all medications and apply for a bed at a hospice, it was a very hard decision for our family. She was fortunate enough to get one, unlike those 43 other families that my heart goes out to. After my grandma transitioned to Mariposa, her spirits lifted. She held on a little bit longer, and she was able to rest very comfortably during this time, without cold whites being broadcast in the middle of the night, without the sound of beeping monitors, and without those harsh fluorescent lights. Instead, it was a very calm and serene environment. So much compassion, you can feel it when you walk in the door. Most people, and I'm sure some of us in this room, have had a loved one pass where they get that call to rush to the hospital, or the call that it's too late and they're not going to make it. Our family was so fortunate to be with my grandma during her last moments. It was a true celebration of her life accomplishments, with her entire family at her bedside. That was only possible because she was at Mariposa. The most amazing part was yet to come. As a family, we were able to walk with her on her last walk out the door and into the comfort and care of Mundell Funeral Home. I'll try to pull myself together to finish. During my grandma's stay at Mariposa, it lined up with the annual Hike for Hospice, which is held every May. Our family banded together. We got a team together, mostly family and some friends, and in under a month, we raised over $8,000 to go directly back to hospice. Just something we thought, as a family, we could do to help. Since then, I've dedicated my volunteer time to the fundraising committee for hospice and been able to oversee some of the events this past year and be involved, from the golf tournament to the fashion show and the annual concert in the barn that we've held twice here at Braystone in Oro. We've been able to raise an amazing amount of money that will go towards not only the daily operations cost that isn't covered by the government, but mostly to the new capital campaign to increase the bed size from 6 to 10. If you haven't already heard, there's a match donation program happening right now with the JDS Foundation, where every dollar that was raised will actually be doubled or tripled if it's a new donor. This is life-changing for hospice. Today, I stand before you urging you to please consider making some budget funds available to aid in this campaign, to allow Mariposa House Hospice to serve more families, to reduce the number of families that are turned away, and ultimately allow those without much more time to serve out their last days with dignity, being surrounded by compassion and love. As Ted mentioned, statistically, we know our baby boomer generation, most if not all, live in Oro, and will be getting older in the years to come. So many more family members will be experiencing this end of life. And for us, I just hope we can grow this together and we can all help dollar by dollar, brick by brick. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Michelle, as well. Madam Clerk, sorry for your loss.
Mr. Mayor, would
could-
we like to take a break?
I just have, yeah, we'll take 5 minutes, and I would like to ask a couple of questions. And we take 5 minutes, and then,
Okay.
thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we're live.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. We're now at item 11, reports of municipal officers for actions. May we have a draft motion for 11A, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Young, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that CS 2025-18, Yvonne Aubuchon, Clerk, appeal of bylaw 2025-092, ward boundary bylaw. Appeal case OLT 25-000-870 be received and adopted. That staff proceed with engaging the services of John Ewart O'Dwyer at the township's as the township's legal representative for the Ontario Land Tribunal appeal of bylaw 2025-092. And that council authorized the estimated overrun costs of up to $30,000 for consultant and legal services fees pertaining to this appeal.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Members of council, the floor is now open for discussion or questions. Are there any questions or comments at this time in regards to this? No? Then I'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? There's none opposed. That is carried. We're now at item 12, and there are 4 reports to be received. I understand we will be pulling item 14D from consent and dealing with the matter under 12D, and that Ms. Johnson will be providing an overview of 12C. Members of council, are there any other questions or comments with respect to 12A or B at this time? Seeing none. Ms. Johnson, would I like to ask you to provide a summary of your report at this time, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council and members of the public. I'm pleased to present the Township of Oro-Medonte's financial executive's financial summary for the period January 1st through to September 30th, 2025. Before reviewing the township's results, please note that the Municipal Services Corporation, known as the MSC, its operating and capital financial results were transitioned from the township's financials on January 1st, 2025 and are not included in this financial report. The MSC operates as a user fee-based entity responsible for wastewater, drinking water, and street lighting services, covering both the operating and the capital activities. Its financial statements are prepared independently and will be presented to the MSC board at its meeting tomorrow night on November 27th, 2025. These statements will cover the same period, January 1st to September 30th, and provide a comprehensive report to their board. Both the financial reports mark an important milestone. This is the first full update generated from our new ERP system and the restructuring of the chart of accounts and financial general ledger, Microsoft Dynamics. This transition significantly improves accuracy and timeliness compared to prior manual processes and sets the stage for enhanced quarterly reporting and forecasting in 2026. Council's strong support for the ERP implementation has been instrumental in strengthening governance and enhancing financial transparency, positioning the township for improved decision-making and timely reporting. Several factors have shaped our financial position this year. The most significant was the severe March ice storm, which triggered a state of emergency, resulting in costs of approximately $6.36 million. We've applied for a $5.88 million in recovery funding through the province's Municipal Ice Storm Recovery Assistance Program. If approved, the township will absorb about $474,000 in non-recoverable costs. If not, reserves will be strained, affecting priority capital projects and asset management. This event underscores the importance of proactive planning in managing the growing financial risks associated with climate-related emergencies. On the operating side, as outlined in Table 1A of the staff report, revenues have been mixed. Building permit revenues are trending about $1 million above budget, driven by strong development activity and user fee adjustments implemented in June. Aggregate royalties and parking revenues have also exceeded expectations, while recreation user fees are lower than anticipated due to the timing of the new facility, such as the Simcoe Woods Community Center, which opened in September. The material expenses in the on the report increased due to storm response costs, as mentioned before, and high winter operations following an unusually severe winter. And our salary and benefits are trending favorably due to vacancies and timings of hires. Additionally, Table 1B in the staff report provides a detailed summary of legal expenses by matter for the period January 1st to September 30th. Monitoring these costs is significant for variance reporting because legal matters can create unpredictable financial pressures affecting departmental budgets and reserve strategies. Transparent tracking ensures council can assess both operational impacts and emerging risks tied to litigation or compliance issues. The 2025 capital program, summarized in Table 2 of the staff report, shows strong progress on key infrastructure and facility projects, with many initiatives completed or underway. Some projects were deferred due to land acquisition and design requirements, while others were adjusted or completed internally. Positive variances will remain in reserves for future use, and debt financing for major works has not been drawn yet. These funds remain in short-term investments and earning interest until they're required. Looking ahead, the recalibrated 26 mayor's budget scheduled for January 28th, 2026 presentation must address significant pressures, including 11% increase in OPP policing costs, inflationary impacts, legislative changes, and growth-related service demands. There's additional challenges, including technology and cybersecurity investments, climate resilience initiatives, workforce needs, and environmental sustainability requirements. In summary, the township has made substantial progress in modernizing its systems and strengthening reporting capabilities, positioning us for improved transparency and decision-making. Despite the extraordinary challenges of 2025, including the ice storm and rising service demands, we've managed fiscal discipline and advanced key capital projects. With financial generator reports that are now reviewed regularly by staff, timely quarterly updates to council will support council's governance and oversight, and combined with continued strategic planning and anticipated provincial recovery funding, we're confident in our ability to sustain services, protect reserves, and ensure long-term financial stability for our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson, and thank you for all the amazing work that you and your department has done. We've been very successful of getting ourselves up to speed and up to date with the times of today, which I think is something that, you know, we will benefit from, not just this year but many years to come. So thank you for that. CO Benzid, you look like you want to say something, so I might as well start with you.
Thank you, Mayor Greenland. I got to work on my face, I think. I just wanted to highlight a couple pieces here. I think Ms. Johnson did an excellent job of summarizing, and really the intent was to provide where the organization is trending. We have a number of different lines of business, and I think the environmental scan just highlights the complexities that are there, and you look at just what has been on any given council agenda. That complexity and uncertainty continues to exist. So it being nimble, I think, in how the organization positions itself to be able to respond, and as Ms. Johnson alluded to, ensuring that we have adequate reserves to replace our infrastructure, but also to deal with some of the uncertainty and ensuring that as we move forward with projects, and 81 completed projects is pretty substantial considering the majority of Q2 was spent dealing with our 615 kilometers of roads, the majority of which being closed with trees down all over the municipality. but ensuring that those projects move through systematically, and if there is uncertainty, then really looking at reprioritizing our initiatives and ensuring that we land on target with budget. So happy to report that we're certainly trending in that direction. The big variable, as Ms. Johnson outlined, is the recovery of those expenses, but there is a contingency plan in place, but that would significantly strain our reserves. So we're optimistic that we will get that recovery from the province. And I think, as council's aware, we were the first municipality out of 63 to submit our application, and probably one of the hardest hit across the province. So again, a testament to the work of the team and being on top and getting that in. And then just looking forward into 2026, recognizing that there's a 2-year budget, and we've highlighted pressures, so it's not all gloom. There's some opportunity as well, but I think we're really going to need to look at priorities and refocus, which is really the objective of the recalibration process, to ensure that we're looking at our service levels within a sustainable funding envelope. Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw.
Thank you very much. Is there any other comments at this time or questions? Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
Unsurprisingly, I have a few. I did want to, through you, Mr. Mayor, thank the Finance Department again for pulling together the ERP program, and my fellow colleagues for supporting that. That's been incredibly important to where we're going to be in the state that this council will leave the township in when our term is completed. Did the MSC also make it into the ERP program?
Yes, through you, Mayor, to Deputy Mayor Lavoie. Yes, it has its own separate set of books in the ERP system, and its reports are generated from that same system as a separate financial report.
Okay, thank you. Something I'd just like to highlight, if I might go on for a bit. I won't be too long. I think it was indicated to us, and I just want to make the statement publicly, is that we were advised by the ministry that these sorts of rebates for these kinds of climate events might not be covered again in the future. And notwithstanding that we're already pumping 3% into our asset management reserves just to keep up with the current situation, we do need a contingency of some magnitude in order to ensure that we have money invested that's earning other money in case we encounter such a climate event again. So whether it be a flood or something that we don't know, but we do know that these are happening. They're not unusual anywhere in the world anymore, and I think it would be prudent for this township to plan for it. The other thing, and I did pass this on to Director of Finance Shannon, the province has announced, despite the fact that we're allegedly moving towards a federal position of open trading between provinces, that the province will require both the province and its municipalities to procure in an Ontario first manner. And this could have some impact on the budget if Ontario first supplies are more expensive than what might otherwise be available to this municipality elsewhere in the country. Another question, would we be able to have quarterly financial reporting in 2026?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. Through you. Yes, we will be having regular quarterly reporting now that the financials are in the live system and generated by push of a button.
Right.
Of course, there's a bit of work in the background to do, but yes, we
Right.
will have those automatic reporting.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And one final point. I just want to highlight the fact that the legal fees have been a considerable concern for this township over the last 6 years. I do believe they're declining, but I would ask that the finance department go back in the next time we have a finance report over the last 6 years and just highlight what we've been spending that money on and what amounts we've been spending in each of those last 6 years. And we have dropped some pretty significant files. Short-term rentals should be coming off the registry soon. And there have been other issues like cannabis and that started before this council was seated. So I think it's important to recognize that, you know, we've diminished those, we've settled those, and we haven't created any new ones, and that I just like to see that we're getting some kind of fiscal responsibility around that issue. So thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you. Councillor Hutchison?
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw, through you. And the fact that you mentioned CAO bins, that we need to be nimble moving forward, I couldn't agree with you more. Just, we don't know what the provincial or federal government will put down to the municipal level that we have to be prepared for, as well as climate events. I want to say I'm really pleased to hear that we're trending to be on or at budget again this year. And if I'm not correct, that is now 3 or 4 years in a row where we've been able to stay within budget. So I think that in itself, given the pressures that we have had as a township, have experienced. So that's great. I'm just delighted that we're going to be able to get this quarterly reporting, because it's going to be very important for any council who's sitting to be able to have those numbers to help guide the township forward. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hutchinson. Any other comments or questions at this time? Thank you very much, Shannon. You know, the budget is the most important thing that we got to make sure we're on top of every year. It's aligned in order that we can achieve the strategic plan that is set forth. And as the deputy has mentioned, with the ongoing and seems to be increasing downloading from the provinces onto municipalities, it makes things much more challenging. And then even when we take those into consideration, there's the unexpected actions that take place, like the ice storm and changes in government regulations that says we have to buy within the province, which could have a more expensive impact upon our goods and services that we do deliver. So, you know, I applaud you. I continue to think that we do have to build our reserves up, because you know, we want to smooth out those increases over time rather than have double-digit increases in a year that people aren't prepared to absorb. So thank you for that. And Madam Clerk, we'll just collect all these. We're going to receive all these in one motion at the end. Is that how you want to do these reports?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
They're on one motion.
Okay, so we're on to 12D, and I'd just like to start off in regards to the Barrie proposed boundary expansion. To start off by highlighting that the Township of Oro-Medonte has been active and a willing participant in the facilitation process over the past 2 years. Throughout this period, we have advanced the proposal with the City of Barrie and achieved consensus on the terms of the Boundary Adjustment Agreement, which was endorsed by Oro-Medonte Council on November 4th, 2025, and to be brought back for a formal endorsement by law on November 12th, 2025. The Township recognizes that full agreement among all parties in the facilitation process was not reached, which was required for the Minister of the Municipal Affairs and Housing to endorse the proposal. As a result, the province of Ontario is now enacting legislation. Notwithstanding this development, the Township remains optimistic that the province will honor the terms and parameters of the City of Barrie's Boundary Adjustment Agreement that was negotiated diligently and in good faith, and accept and endorse formally was endorsed formally by Oro-Medonte Council, along with the feedback provided by the Oro-Medonte residents and businesses. Mr. Binns, Mr. Valancourt, would you like to provide council and public with an overview of the legislation, which was tabled yesterday? And I'm not sure if it was on the table again today or not, but if you'd like to just update the public on that, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. I'll maybe start and turn it to my colleague, Mr. Valancourt. I think for the benefit of the public, there's two pieces of communication that have been attached to the agenda, late notice because they just came out yesterday. The first being a media release from the province, and the second being the actual bill that was tabled before the legislature yesterday. So I'd like to maybe just highlight a couple of the key elements from both the news release and the bill, and then maybe just a bit of a forward look to what we may anticipate for next steps. So some of the key points from the press release, it speaks to the transfer as it relates to Oro-Medonte. It speaks to the transfer of 1,673 hectares of land that corresponds with the boundary adjustment proposal that was received by council on the 4th. It does speak to the Office of the Provincial Land Development Facilitator, continuing a role in facilitating elements of the agreement, including financial compensation from the City of Barrie. And it also references the Highway 400 north of 11 corridor, and the legislation facilitating economic development along those strategic zones, which was also identified in the proposal. With respect to the bill itself, and again, the detailed bill is included as part of the agenda. There is an effective date of January 1st, 2026. Or when the bill receives royal assent. And Mayor Greenlaw, as you alluded to, it's currently going through the process. So we'll provide updates on our website as we're able to do so. And really in the bill itself, there are elements, again, that continue through from what was in the proposals, things like the property tax phase-in, 20 years for agricultural and 5 years for residential is in the bill itself. There are a few differences from the media release. The bill does not provide any reference to the amount of land. The bill provides broad authorities to the minister to work through those elements as the minister sees fit, using his discretion. So there are a number of pieces, specifically things around property and real property compensation, as I've mentioned previously, the land area, zoning matters, and really broad powers for any transitional matters, which in the opinion of the minister are necessary or desirable to facilitate the implementation of the act or deal with any issues associated with the implementation of the act. So some of those things could include ward boundaries, as Ms. Aubuchon highlighted in her report. We've initiated a process, but there's also this other process that can have an impact if the boundaries are changed, therefore ward boundaries may change as well. It's the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing that makes the decision on either process. So those will likely happen in parallel. But Mayor Greenlaw, members of council, that's the state of affairs as we know it currently. Again, we'll continue to provide information. As we get information, we're going to continue to be actively involved in looking at what those next steps may be. I do suspect that over the coming days, as the minister is working through The regulations, the facilitation process will likely continue to work through some of those implementation details. And we'll continue to keep council and the community abreast as we're able to.
Thank you very much, Mr. Binns. Council members, is there any questions or comments at this time? Seeing none, just in closing, I want to reaffirm that the township remains committed to finalizing the details with the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing and the City of Barrie as we look ahead to the end of the year. I will continue to have discussions with the Office of the Provincial Land Development Facilitators and Minister Flack, and I'm optimistic that Minister Flack will consider the work completed over the past 2 years to advance the agreement along with feedback provided by Oro-Medonte residents and businesses to arrive at a mutually beneficial regional solution to growth, which has been the goal in the process from the onset. So as I say, let's stay positive and let's work with everybody in the process in order to get a solution in place. Madam Clerk, may we have a motion for all the reports, please?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that the reports as listed under item number 12, reports of municipal officers for information only, be received.
All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, that is carried, Madam Clerk. We're now at 13, reports, announcements of members of council. Are there any updates of members of council as to township representatives of our partnerships or agencies? Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to give a quick update, as it were, on Simcoe County, who held their last council meeting of the year yesterday. A very important document was released, which is the 10-year housing plan, which is a common blueprint for affordable housing. They plan on being able to support up to 21,000 households by the end of the 10 years, which represents 10% of the households in the county. The other thing that's interesting, it's an interesting read if you want. The other thing that's interesting in it is that Oro-Medonte has the highest rate of home ownership at 94% of all of the communities within the county. There was a interesting piece on paramedic violence against paramedic training for paramedics. I think the important thing is that such a course is necessary in the first place, but paramedics do respond to a lot of circumstances where there are domestic issues. But it is important to recognize that paramedics do face violence in the workplace. And going on with the paramedicine issue, it's important also to recognize that paramedics are not only just waiting around in the ambulance for a call. They have 5 programs that undertake vulnerable populations. They run wellness clinics. They do community paramedic home visits, and they have a referral program and paramedic patient follow-up. So they'll follow up with patients to facilitate sort of ambulance hospital type circumstances, and they'll follow up on behalf of that. And the other thing that sort of we should all pay attention to, because they're probably going to hear a lot about it in the new year, is the switch to the producer responsibilities for recycling. Everybody's recycling bin is going to change, and you're not going to be able to put the same things in it perhaps that you could previously. However, the parties responsible for taking over this program have not been particularly communicative about how this is going to impact households. So I think councillors and other prominent members of the community will be hearing quite a bit about recycling. There's a lot of stranded assets at the Simcoe County level because the county provided services, provided trucks, provided bins, provided the ability for people to drop off recycling, which they will have to continue to do at those sites, but we can no longer collect for it. So there's actually about $4.5 million worth of stranded service that the county is not going to be collecting income for, because we're expected to provide that service for free. Also, a big change is going to be hazardous waste disposal, because the producers are responsible for the hazardous waste, but they collect less than 5% of it. And the county drop off is expected to be free. And of course, getting rid of hazardous waste is the most expensive of all things that the county has to do on a per liter or per kilogram basis. So those are some of the things, and we'll welcome more reports from the county in the new year. And everybody at county wishes you all a happy holidays. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other reports at this time from members of council? Just to, when it does get put public, there was a consultant report that came to county the eve of the meeting, and it was county's kind of reviewing the Hempson report. So if you get a chance to read that, it's quite an interesting report. It lays out how of the 3 stages, there seems to be a lack of consistency of what the focus was. When it started off as a land need component, then it shifted to a complete community component, and then in the 3rd stage there was nothing about a balanced complete community anymore. So it is a very interesting read. It's a 10-page report, very well written, and also that Barrie had just finished and the province had approved their official plan, and within 2 years they're blowing it all up, saying that it had aggressive targets, and rather than wait, which normally would have been a 10-year period to review and do the adjustment, this time they seem to be blowing it up and moving forward now, when the projections of shortages seem to be altering from time to time. So that's an interesting read. And the other thing that I just want to is the Conservation Ontario is moving forward with the amalgamation of the CAs. There will be workshops that I'll be attending, one Friday in Newmarket with Lake Simcoe, and this area, it looks like they will be merging 7 to 8 CAs under one umbrella. So they'll go to a regional perspective of about 7 CAs throughout the province. And what they'll be based on is the Great Lakes watersheds that they flow into. So the workshop is to get feedback. It's not to reverse things. This will move forward. It sounds to me like the decision has been made, and it's not whether or not this is the right move. They will be doing it. And I think we have to look at, I don't think some of the smaller CAs it wasn't necessarily lack of effort in turning permits around in development. I honestly think what it was is some CAs didn't have the horsepower in order to turn things around at the rate they did. And to give you a kind of an example, like Lake Simcoe is 100 and likely close to 130 employees, and Nottawasaga would be 30. So and when you get into the smaller CAs, a lot of those engineers, it's a stepping stone. So there's a lot of transition in those smaller organizations. So, that is something that's going to come forward, and I'm very hopeful and optimistic that it will create consistency of applications across the board, and it will hopefully allow them all to be more efficient and consistent across all levels, while protecting the environment, which is key. Yeah, if there's is there any other Yes, announcements. Now we can do them now as well, please.
Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. Just a few announcements happening in the Ward 1 area. This coming weekend, Friday, December the 5th, is the annual candlelight walk and toy drive between 6 and 8 p.m. Unwrapped toys can be taken to the Line 4 fire station, and families can enjoy a visit with Santa and have some fun. There's some activities planned at the community center, at the Simcoe Woods Community Center. Then on Sunday, the food drive that takes place every year as well at the fire station will take place between 1 and 3. Drop off food or monetary contributions for the food bank are welcome. And I also did want to just speak to, it's more of a county decision, but there was a group of residents in Horseshoe Valley, particularly in the Cathedral Pines area, that were very concerned about the speed of cars and just the general traffic in the intersection of Line 4 and Horseshoe Valley Road, with the new school and rec center being there, and in particular the safety of pedestrian traffic, because it has significantly increased since the opening of the school and the center. So there was an organized group of families, and they made deputation at county 2 weeks ago. Very, very well done and researched. And then county did have a motion this week at county's meeting, and they did consider the ask of the reductions in the speed zones, the addition of making Horseshoe Valley Road in that area a community safety zone, and putting additional signage up that would have a flashing school sign. And those were all approved by County Council, and we should see the implementation of the new signage happening in the next couple of weeks. So that was a really I would say just a wonderful example of how a community can come together and very thoughtfully put together a plan that can and then sit down and discuss it with staff, with the mayor, with the deputy mayor. They also looked to get support of the county council members, and they did an amazing job and got the result that they had hoped for, and it was a satisfactory result for all parties. So well done.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hutchinson. I do want to thank the representatives also that came to county, because they were very professional in how they conducted themselves. That represents our township very well at the county level. Thank you. If there's nothing else, then Madam Clerk, can I have a motion to receive or is there a motion? I'm just trying to think.
Yes, for the consent agenda.
Yes, please.
Moved by Bard, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that the staff recommendations with respect to the items listed under consent agenda correspondence be added or be adopted as printed.
All in favor? That is carried, and here's me stepping out of line because it was my gap. The Mayor's Skate is this Friday at 6 p.m. So I just want to let everyone know the Mayor's Skate's at the Guthrie Arena at 6 p.m. And also, just because, I don't want you to miss, our next meeting's not for a couple of weeks. The Moonstone Santa Claus Parade is December 7th. In Moonstone, the Warminster Santa Claus Parade is on the 13th. And if the Harborwood Santa Claus Parade, sorry, I don't want to miss one.
No, you better not.
So
It is
the 6th of December. So mark them down in your calendars, and we'll see you there. Consent agenda, communications, petitions. Item 15A, are there 2 reports of Mr. Ewert? He's attending Zoom, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and he is present now.
Oh, my apologize. Was there a that's right.
Sorry?
We had an item on the consent agenda that was going to be pulled.
Okay.
I don't know which one. 14B.
Mr. Mayor, it was already addressed earlier in the meeting, so we're good.
Okay.
It was Mr. Bin's report. Oh, B. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, so anyways, can we pull that and then,
Absolutely.
thank you. So,
So,
Council,
may I have a mover and a seconder for that?
yep, Councillor
Lavoie
Clark
and
and Councillor
Clark.
Lavoie.
Okay, so moved by Lavoie, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that item 14B be pulled to be voted on separately.
Okay, and do you want to speak to this at this
I
point, Lorraine,
do.
please?
Thank you. So I do have a couple of pages here, so bear with me. So I recently took the Elect Respect pledge. As an elected official, I've pledged to treat elected officials and each other with respect in all spaces, public, private, and online. I reject harassment, abuse, and personal attacks, and speak out when I witness them. I will focus debate and political discussions on ideas and policies and not personal attacks. I will help to build a supportive culture where people of all backgrounds feel safe to run for and hold office and engage in public life. I will call on relevant authorities for the protection of elected officials who face abuse or threats. And I will model integrity and respect in public life, holding myself to the highest standard of conduct, and vote for leaders who model integrity and respect in public life, and I will hold them to the highest standard of conduct as well. So why have I taken this pledge? Well, first, I'd like to review how this pledge originated. Elect Respect started as a conversation between elected representatives in the Halton region. These representatives came together to share experiences with harassment and abuse in their public roles, and to stand up for a better way forward, wanting to work free from threats, abuse, and intimidation. Elect Respect was formed to help create greater awareness of the current climate of public incivility, the impact it's having on attracting and retaining candidates for public office, and the effect on voter turnout. Incivility in the public realm has been on the rise for several years. This disturbing trend has been recognized by the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. They have dedicated $1 million towards its Healthy Democracy Project. The Healthy Democracy Project is a 4-year project which provides municipal representatives and employees with support and tools to help create greater voter engagement and combat incivility. AMO is working to understand how to reduce the experience of hostile, uncivil, and aggressive behavior between members of the public and elected officials and staff, as well as between councillors. The statistics here are concerning. 63% of municipal politics have experienced some form of harassment this term. 13% of elected officials in Quebec have resigned this term due to harassment concerns. 76.4% of harassment is experienced through online sources. Voter participation is in steady decline. Experiences of harassment include insults, demeaning language, the use of memes or emojis to mock, false accusations, twisting facts to promote an agenda, threats of harm, interference with property, and at times physical attack. As a politician, it's understood there will be differing opinions on policy and ideas, and that discussion and debate of these opinions and positions are expected. The line is crossed when the discussion becomes personal and devolves into accusations and the use of misinformation and personal attack. So why am I talking about this? As the pledge states, I reject harassment and abuse, and I will speak out when I witness it. Here in Oro-Medonte, unfortunately, I witness it, and I experience it. I have been the recipient of uncivil behavior online, yes. Have I experienced in-person intimidation by a member of the public? Yes. Have I worried about my physical safety? Yes. Have I witnessed uncivil behavior towards other elected officials and staff online? Yes. Have I learned of in-person intimidation of family members of elected officials? Yes. Just this week, in response to my posting on my councillor Facebook page about this pledge, I was accused of clutching my pearls and crying victim. True to my pledge, I'm calling out harassing and disrespectful behavior, and unfortunately, there are some members of the Oro-Medonte community who have donned the cloak of keyboard warrior, scrolling through multiple Facebook community pages and groups and various other social media platforms. These individuals post grossly inaccurate information and make negative comments, oftentimes making underhanded personal attacks. Keyboard warriors hide behind fake profiles, posting curated content, claiming it as fact, making false statements, accusations of corruption and deceit, perpetrating a false narrative, demeaning capabilities of elected officials, and what is more disturbing is the online evisceration of any community member who dares to challenge the individual making these posts. I understand that I will be subject to criticism, but to attack well-meaning community members rises incivility to new levels. We must recognize that with the decline in local journalism, toxic online activity is on the rise. We all feel something has changed in our environment, and we need to reinforce the foundations of our democracy. This can begin at the municipal level, where citizens are closest to the government. We can start by openly discussing the importance of civility in our community and inviting conversations about its impact. I encourage everyone to reflect on how we interact in both person and online, and to stand with me in rejecting harassment. Reach out to your neighbors, attend council meetings, share your perspectives, and support a respectful dialogue. Together, we can foster a culture of integrity and respect, ensuring our community is a safe place for civic engagement.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hutchinson. Madam Clerk, do we have a motion to pass this now, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So I will have that moved by Hutchison and seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that correspondence dated October 10th, 2025 from the Halton Elected Representatives, HER, request for support and elect Respect campaign. Staff recommendation, receive, support, and staff communicate accordingly.
Thank you very much. I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. You can mark that unanimous, Madam Clerk. And then now we will be on to item 15, communication petitions. We have 2 reports to be delivered by our IC, John Ewart. Is Mr. Ewart joining us, I believe, virtually, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Ewart is online. He has already joined the meeting.
Welcome, Mr. Ewart, to council. I hope things are good in Peterborough.
Thank you, Your Worship, and Council. Thank you for having me this afternoon.
Oh, is it still this afternoon? I thought, well, it's that time travel, right? Anyway.
We're an hour behind in my location, Your Worship.
Thank you for correcting me. Mr. Ewart, if you'd like to, proceed when ready, please go ahead.
Thank you. And again, Council, thank you for having me virtually. I have 2 reports to present to Council this afternoon. I almost said this evening, this afternoon, as it relates to my role with the Corporation of Township of Oro-Medonte as Integrity Commissioner. The first one, Your Worship, is referred to as 3346. And in terms of reference for councils, it's the matters involving alleged contravention of sections 9, 9.2, 10.1, and 15.1 A to D inclusive. So I hope council can follow along with me as I deal with this first matter. And I would be remiss, Your Worship, to mention that when the reports were circulated to both the complainant as well as the member, commentary was received by the complainant. And I intend to address that through the course of my presentation to Council. I think it would be perhaps better handled that way so I can address the concerns raised by the complainant. But I can indicate for the record they were noted, and I will address them as I go through the report.
Thank you.
Your Worship, it's not my intention to take Council through every paragraph and on the report itself. I think it's perhaps more beneficial just to go to what is page 5, the background facts. I'm sure Council's had an opportunity to review the reports, but for the benefit of the public, I think it's important to identify what the issues were as I went through this inquiry. And they're identified as A to D, Your Worship, under the background facts on page 5. And the allegations arise from by the complainant, that is, of sending emails to the complainant, that is the member, at a personal email address, posts by the member to various local Facebook groups which reference the complainant, attendance at a court proceeding which involved the complainant as a party, and the viewing of a LinkedIn profile created by the complainant. Now, with respect to A and B, this is my first commentary with respect to the comments received by the complainant. The sending of the emails to the complainant at personal email address occurred, or at least the documents produced to me, occurred over the span of 2022-2023 calendar years. Similarly, except for one, which I'll refer to in a moment, posts by the member to various local Facebook groups which reference the complainant, what were identified to me with, again, the time span of 2022 to 2023. And the significance of that, Your Worship, is that the Code of Conduct for the municipality, it's in Part B, Schedule 8.1, doesn't pose a 6-month limitation period. I'm limited in how far back I can go with respect to looking at incidents. And it's recognized that is a 6-week period when it becomes knowledge of the complainant, but there is an ultimate limitation period, as I interpret the code, of 6 months. So I am limited in terms of how far back I can go. And in doing so, I'm going to make a comment that there's public policy for that. It's hard enough to look backwards even 6 months, let alone perhaps 2 years, and to look at documentation, which at that point in time, I should have been looking at there. It's just, again, it's an evidentiary concern, which is recognized both in the Limitations Act in Ontario, as well as in the Code of Conduct as adopted by the Township of Oro-Medonte. I think what would be a benefit too, as I look at the nature of the complaint, and I'd like to then just touch on the nature of the complaint as identified the issues. One of the complaints, as indicated, was postings to a Facebook group by the member from the period of March 2022 through to October 2023. For the reasons I indicated, Your Worship, I could not consider those Facebook postings as part of the complaint. They were part of the complaint, but I did not give them any weight. And again, it's identified in the section as to why I did not. The comment with respect to the viewing of a screenshot of a LinkedIn page belonging to the complainant, that did occur in February of 2025. I did look at that as part of this complaint, and my comments will follow on that particular issue. Again, with respect to the emails, I'm on page 6, Your Worship and Council. The email sent by the member to the complainant's email address, again, a period of October 2022 to October 2023, beyond the time period prescribed for by Section 8, brackets 1 of your Code of Conduct, and that's Part B of the formal complaint. With respect to the court attendance, this occurred in May of this year, and the explanation by the member was that the member was there in support of another party litigant, which did in fact involve the complainant. There was limited contact at that time, simply by the member greeting the complainant, and my comments will follow in a moment as to my consideration of that issue. Now, the matter of the complainant's court proceedings have been referenced in a Facebook posting of February 2025, and that is one I did look at for the reason both that it tied into the May 4th, 2025 event, as well as the posting, which was, in my opinion, within time. And I'm going to come to those in due course. So turning to page 7 of the report, Your Worship and Council, the inquiry broke down into essentially 3 areas. The Facebook post of February 2025 by the member, the viewing of the complainant's LinkedIn profile, and the attendance at what was Barrie Small Claims Court in May of this year, being a day in which the complainant had a matter before the Fed. The balance of the report leading up to my analysis on page 9 is essentially setting out the grounds and the sections referenced by the complainant. And I think it's important as it's an aid to the reader to understand what sections I was looking at. As I've said on several times, Your Worship, and to Council, I'm guided by the complaint itself. It's not my role, as I've said several times, to go looking in the Code of Conduct to match up sections. I'm guided by what I'm told to look at, and in this case, I did, as I've done in the past. So turning to issue A, Your Worship, this is on the bottom of page 9. Did the postings to a local Facebook group of February 2025 contravene the Municipal Code of Conduct? And social media is specifically addressed in your Code of Conduct to the credit of the municipality, and it's found in sections 15A to D of the Code of Conduct, which specifically addresses the use of social media by members of council. The specific issue in this matter, however, was whether or not the postings by the member was in the role as a member of council, or was the member posting in a position which was not advancing either the role, the office, the function, the influence, the authority, or responsibility of a council member. And I can indicate, Your Worship, that the matters that were referenced in that particular posting had no connection to the interests or the business of the township. The social media posts by the member were not posted on behalf of the township, did not relate to the business or operation of the township, and were not work-related or were of a personal use of social media. I think this is significant, Your Worship, because otherwise the Code of Conduct would then be applied to all personal pursuits of any member of council. But perhaps more importantly, if there was a finding that personal postings, either email or Facebook, would be subject to council-imposed sanction. That surely is not how the Code of Conduct was considered, and certainly does not track what the legislation implies. Taken together, Section 2.2, which was the section I was taken to, and Section 15 of the Code of Conduct refer exclusively to official functions and duties. This was not the case here. Now, one of the comments I received in response to this issue was that the member had, as part of the Facebook posting, contained a photograph of the member, which perhaps had been taken at a time when the member was elected to council. Again, there was no significant connection to the member's self-identification, and it was insufficient to draw the connection that social media activity complained of had a connection to the interest or business of the township, and therefore were within the scope of the Code of Conduct, and therefore bringing it within my jurisdiction. And the findings that I've cited on page 11, Council, it's consistent with other past decisions of integrity commissioners. It's important to note, perhaps at this point, we are to a certain degree guided by court decisions as well as decisions of other integrity commissioners. That's not to say, Your Worship, I'm bound by them, but they often provide a direction when looking at decisions or conduct being complained of. Issue number B, I'm on page 11, Council. Did the member's attendance at a court proceeding involving the complainant contravene the Code of Conduct? Again, it's undisputed that the member did attend. The attendance occurred on May 4th, 2025, and the attendance was at a time when the complainant had a matter that was proceeding before the court. In terms of response as to why the member attended the court proceeding was not in an attempt to intimidate or otherwise harass the complainant, but rather in support of the party litigant. And as I've indicated in my review of this matter, in Ontario, all members of the public are welcome to attend and watch Superior Court of Justice proceedings, and that includes small claims court proceedings. The open court principle has been referred to as many times as the hallmark of democratic society, and as such, any member of the public may attend a court proceeding, except in those cases where the law requires the court to be sealed or otherwise the proceedings banned to the public. In this particular case, the member was attending at an open session of court involving a matter that had no connection at all to the office, role, function, influence, authority, or responsibility of the member of council, and again, with no connection to the interest or business of the township. And as I indicated earlier, Worship, taking into account the background of this issue and the principles of code of conduct, I cannot find that the activities of May 4th, 2025 serve to contravene the township's code of conduct. And as I indicated, it cannot be the case that the code of conduct applies to private actions of council members in matters completely unrelated to the township. And to find otherwise would subject a member of council to council-imposed penalties arising from decisions in their private lives unrelated to that of the municipality. And in doing so, a careful review of the sections cited by the complaint on this issue do not address the private conduct of the member unless it's attributable once again to the office, role, function, influence, authority, or responsibility of a member of council. The third issue I addressed and was directed to was the viewing of the complainant's LinkedIn profile by the member, and does that indeed contravene the municipal code of conduct. As I note in my report, LinkedIn is described as a business and employment-oriented social networking, and as the subscriber, members can create members' profiles and make posts to the site. In this particular case, it's undisputed that the member did, in fact, view the profile of the complainant once on February 19, 2025. No postings were made subsequent, and there was no other viewing of the LinkedIn page. It was the position of the complainant that this was done by the member in an attempt to search for her or to otherwise harass the complainant. And I cannot find that that was the case. In this context, which I have to look at social media, it's very important to understand that social media platforms are created and can be viewed by any member of the public. And the adage goes, if you don't want to be viewed, then don't create a post, don't create a profile. And in this case, the activity being complained of involved the member viewing the profile of the complainant on a social media platform. I have talked in the past, Your Worship and Council, about social media, and I've referenced in page 13 that if it's expected that if you create a public interest internet presence, one should expect any member of the public to view such profile. And that is the nature of social media. And that was again a finding in the case of Montfort versus Brown, again, another decision of an integrity commissioner of 2021. And a similar finding has been upheld by the courts. In this particular case or this particular incident, Your Worship, the context is social media, which is very relevant to my finding that in this case, no breach of the code of conduct had occurred by the member by viewing the complainant's profile on LinkedIn on February 19, 2025. So in summary, Your Worship, I'm on page 14, Council. It was my finding that the member did not contravene the municipal code of conduct of the township at Oro-Medonte by A, postings to a community Facebook group on February 25, 2025, attending at a very small claims court on May 4th, 2025, or viewing the complainant's LinkedIn profile on February 19, 2025. Now, having found that there was no contravention of the code, I do want to make the following comments. Codes of conduct and integrity commissioner inquiries are very serious matters. The legislature has seen fit to require that each municipal council and municipality adopt a code of conduct and appoint an IC or obtain the services of one. And it's important, I think, Your Worship, to note that the legislature has directed that integrity commissioners must act independently from municipal council, although direction assistance can be obtained from previous decisions, both by myself and by other integrity commissioners, as well as the courts. And as I've stated in prior decisions, finding of harassment involving members of council require a careful examination of both the conduct and the conduct complained of in the context. Setting too low a bar for harassment, meaning anything that somebody dislikes, only serves to devalue the concept of harassment and to diminish the code of conduct regime. And in the case at hand, it was my finding that the conduct complained of involved conduct which was unrelated to the interests of the township and could be and can only be considered as private conduct and therefore not subject to the township code of conduct. And as I caution on page 15, Your Worship, I do not want my findings to be, in this case, to be construed that the principles set out in the Township of Oro-Medonte Code of Conduct can be avoided by any member claiming they were acting in, quote, their personal capacity. However, whether a member is acting in a personal capacity must be determined by the context of the complaint and the conduct of the member. And to that end, Your Worship, I would ask again that each member of council review the municipal code of conduct and conduct themselves at all times when dealing with the public, particularly on social media, as if the municipal code of conduct would have application. Accordingly, Your Worship, it's my recommendation to council, and I tender this report, that council receive my report, and that is the following recommendations: that the Office of Integrity Commissioner respectfully recommends that council, the Corporation and Township of Oro-Medonte, receive the report. Again, subject to any questions that you or council may have, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for that report, Mr. Ewart. Council, is there any questions in regards to Mr. Ewart's report? Councillor Schell.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Greenlaw, through you to council. I know I received an email today, and I'm sure the rest of the council did as well, with the plaintiff identified in her email that she was not interviewed by you. Is that true?
Yeah, through Your Worship, with respect to this particular inquiry, she certainly was interviewed by me.
I'm sorry, I did not hear that.
I'm sorry, Your Worship. With respect to inquiry 3346 involving the member of council, the complainant was certainly interviewed by me, Councillor Schell.
Okay, thank you. That's just passing that along. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so what we'll do is we'll vote on these at the end. So, Mr. Ewart, if you would like, or would you like to deal with it now, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if we can deal with them separately.
You just seem to be quite comfortable there. I didn't want to interrupt you. So,
Mr. Mayor, may I have a mover and a seconder,
I have
please?
a mover and seconder, Councillor Hutchison and Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
Okay. Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that the report dated March 21st, 2025, presented by John Ewart, Ewart O'Dwyer, Re OMIC, report file 3346, be received.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? There's none. That is carried. Mr. Ewart, if you'd like to continue with the second report, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Worship. So the second report comes under the heading of 3347, and these numbers are our internal file number, but they pertain to an allegation of complaint against a member of council pursuant to section 4.1A, B, F, and I, and sections 9.1 and 9.2 of the Code of Conduct for the Corporation and Township of Oro-Medonte. Again, I received comments with respect to my inquiry in this matter. And the comment in particular was, as it relates to this particular inquiry, was I did not interview the complainant. And that is indeed true. I had originally, when the report was prepared, there was an inadvertent reference to the fact that I did not. And the reason for doing so, well, I think will become evident through the course of my presentation. What was being complained of, and I certainly had regard to the complaint itself, were comments made by a member of council at a December 11, 2012 council meeting. And these comments appeared at approximately the 5-hour, 26-minute mark of the recording. And I guess I'm going to make a comment as it relates to the recordings of council. This is where it's very much a benefit. But the failure, or rather the decision not to interview the complainant, is my decision, Your Worship, as set out in the legislature as well as the Code of Conduct. In looking at the video, which I did, and in fact, not only did I look at it several times, I undertook a transcription of the events, the video, the comments, so I could review it subsequent as well. I did speak to the member, as I thought that was necessary. But my findings are set out, Your Worship, in the report itself, And I just want to again reiterate that the decision in terms of how one conducts the inquiry is again my decision. But the decision, any decision of an IC is reasonable and worthy of deference if it is based on internal, coherent, and rational chain of analysis. And I respectfully submit, Your Worship, that's what was undertaken here. And it's also justified if it's in relation to the facts in the law that constitutes or that constrains the decision maker, that being me. And those aren't my words, Your Worship. Those are the words of the divisional court, by the way, who would ultimately oversee any judicial review of an integrity report. The conduct of the inquiry, as I indicated, was left to me. I determined what evidence I need, and I would submit, Your Worship, that the best evidence was a viewing of the actual recorded events with the actual words of the member being said and, as indicated, transcribed. I was directed specifically by the complainant as to what to look at, right to the minute mark, 5 hour, 26 minute, which I did. And in doing so, I had regard to the sections of the code of conduct that I was referred to and that were being complained of. I certainly had, when I was reviewing the video, I reviewed it with those sections in mind. And when I transcribed the words of the member, I also had those sections in mind. I reviewed the proceedings as well as the agenda as directed, and I prepared a transcript, as I said. I spoke to the member of council. I provided my report to both the complainant and the member, and I indicated I amended the report based on comments received from the complainant. I had inadvertently referred to interviewing the complainant, and I tell you right now, council, I was mistaken. That ought not to have been included in the report. But the report that you have before you is reference what did happen. And as I said to you again, I did not interview the complainant. I didn't think it was necessary. And in doing so, I did not change my finding as the evidence reviewed served to support the finding and the video itself being the best evidence of whether or not there was a breach of the code of conduct. So having said that, Your Worship and Council, I want to turn to the complaint itself. And in doing so, I'll take counsel to page 5 of the nature of the complaint. And indicating that there were several references to the sections of the Municipal Code of Conduct, which alleged that the member had violated by statements made December 11, 2024. And again, the context is important. It was in response to a motion brought by another member of council, and such statements were made prior to a vote being undertaken by municipal council with respect to a motion which failed to obtain the seconder was ultimately lost. And as indicated, as directed by the complainant, I reviewed the video of the proceedings of council and the statements made by the member, again, at the 5 hour, 26 minute mark. And the statements themselves lasted for just over 2 minutes. And again, the transcription is set out on page 5, a portion of it, not all of it, but these were what I considered to be the relevant statements made by the member. And in the complaint itself, council, there were no specific particular statements that I was directed towards other than simply to review the video and have regard to the sections that were identified. So I put forward in the report what I thought were samples of the statements by the member in order to demonstrate the nature of the statements made by the member itself. So in looking at this complaint, Your Worship, Council, it's issue on page 6, the issues A and B. Did the statements by the member of council at a regular meeting of council of December 11 constitute a form of abuse, bullying, or intimidation contrary to the Municipal Code of Conduct? And hand in hand with that, did the member contravene sections of the Municipal Code by failing to treat a member of council with dignity, understanding, and respect? Again, I won't take council through the sections that I was referred to. They're set out again for the benefit of the reader. But I will take council, if I could, to page 8 under the heading of issue A. And this is the first issue that I considered. And I'll begin as a general statement. Comments made during a meeting of council normally fall under the authority of the presiding officer under the municipal procedural bylaw and ordinarily should not be the subject of an integrity commission inquiry. I undertook this inquiry based on the complaint, how it was rather open-ended in terms of saying, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be looking at, but I will look as directed. And in doing so, I came to the conclusion that there was no contravention of the Municipal Code of Conduct. And I set out my reasons beginning on page 9. Prior to the vote by municipal council and having reviewed the recording events of December 11th, I find that the conduct of the member, while assertive, and the member appeared to be frustrated, the conduct and comments were not aggressive, hostile, or otherwise disrespectful of another member of council or indeed of council itself. And in doing so, and given the statements and the language used by the member of council, which were not made in a harsh or intimidating manner, as I looked at the video several times, there would have been no need for the chair to have intervened either or to make a procedural ruling. And upon viewing the evidence as to the decorum involving the member's statement provided by the complainant, it is my finding that the member's statements during the regular meeting of Council of December 11, 2024 did not constitute a form of abuse, bullying, or intimidation. And again, in this particular case, as a second matter, as identified and has bearing on the decision, there was no other complaint filed as it relates to the conduct of that December, or the member at that December 11th, 2024 meeting as it relates to this particular issue. And as indicated in issue B, goes hand in hand, did the statements by the member contravene the municipal code of conduct by failing to treat a member of council with dignity, understanding, and respect? I indicate again that Section 2 does require all members of council to conduct themselves with decorum and to treat each other with respect, and that respect required of a member of council is also a function of the context. In this case, the context is the debate of a motion brought forward by another member of council during a regular meeting of council. In summary, Your Worship, and again it's set out, I did not find that there was a contravention of the code of conduct. Again, I do note that, I've said this before, as in past reports, it's of little of assistance to me in conducting an inquiry if I'm presented with a complaint that has a reference to a number of sections of the code of conduct, but no particulars being provided. But in this particular case, I would submit at page 11 at the bottom that's unfair to the parties involved. If the process of I'm asked to fill the section cited to evidence, which is a recording of 2.5 minutes in duration, rather than the evidence to the sections which represent a breach of the code of conduct. In this particular case, Your Worship Council, I'm tendering this report as part of my recommendation, and the recommendation is that the Office of the Integrity Commissioner respectfully recommends the following, that the Council for the Corporation of the Township receive this report. Again, Your Worship, up to any questions you may have or council may have, that is the substance of my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ewart. Questions from members of council regarding this matter? Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you very much for your reports, Commissioner Ewart. I did have a question, but I think it was answered by the emails that Councilor Schell referred to earlier. But I do have a second question that struck me while you were talking, which is, I believe this is the second Integrity Commission report that we've had that's been filed by a complainant on behalf of another person. And I was just wondering about the context or jurisdiction with regard to receiving and addressing complaints that are not from the party who is allegedly injured, if that's the correct term in the first place. And I wonder if you had a comment on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. I do, and I do address that on page 10 of the report. It is a concern, and it is one where one would expect that in the case of an alleged contravention, code of conduct, it would be expected the person who was impacted by the statements or the conduct to come forward. And there's reference in that particular part of the report, Your Worship. It's a case referred to as Miller, Bath, Haddon, and it was the finding in that particular case. I didn't include it. And again, just perhaps as I speak to council now, I'm thinking aloud, I think going forward as a practice, it's fine for me to cite all these cases but not provide council with them. I'm going to undertake to provide council with all the cases I refer to in these reports, just on a go forward, and I can have permission to send to the clerk. But in that particular case, that was very much a factor, because otherwise you're dealing with a complaint of which I can't understand the impact to the individual who was the subject of the conduct or the statements. And that I think is very important. But if I don't have that and I can't go searching out because of the confidentiality aspect of the inquiry itself, I can't be calling members of council or any member of the public to say, were you equally impacted? Do you have anything to say? I can't do that. All I can do is, because it's complaint driven, all I can do is wait for the complaint to come in. And when I say wait, I'm not saying I'm waiting, but that's how I react to these. And that's the nature of the complaint. But it is a concern. I can say it's not only a concern in your jurisdiction, Your Worship, but in other jurisdictions in which I perform the role of integrity commissioner. And I'm not saying it's a trend, but it's always disconcerting when I'm faced with that, because I really don't know how subjectively the comments or the conduct are received by the named recipient, for example.
And the supplemental, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for the explanation, Commissioner. Yeah, and it seems to me as well that there's an element of hearsay that could exist, perhaps not in this case, as you've highlighted. It wasn't necessarily the case that it was that the complainant directly had to be interviewed because the evidence was in the video. So, that stood on its own legs. But, in circumstances where there is not documented evidence of some form, either video or in writing, then it would simply be hearsay. And I don't know if you have comment on whether at that level it would be acceptable, or maybe we would find that answer in the cases that you're gratefully admitted or offered to extend with the reports. So thanks again for your work on these matters.
Thank you. And just to answer that question, Your Worship, it is a concern because it is somewhat hearsay. If I'm told that somebody was greatly impacted by the conduct of a member of council or statements made, and I can't reach that individual, what am I to do with it? It's not obviously a complainant having been impacted. They may have been, my words, not council's, scandalized or concerned. But at the end of the day, the impact it has to be measured against the person actually perhaps feeling it, subjected to it. And it is very much a concern. And as I say, when I look at these, I try to do so charitably to understand it. But in this particular case, we had the benefit, as the member has referred to, the video speaks for itself. There couldn't have been a better record of what actually transpired, both in terms of tone, tenor, wording used. And I was very confident, having viewed the video and having spoken to the member, I saw everything I needed to see and heard everything I needed to hear.
Perfect, thank you. Any other members of council, any questions at this time? Councillor Schell.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. Through you to council. A few questions. So, for the Integrity Commissioner, I have a number of factual and procedural questions that I would like to ask sequentially. These questions do not identify any member and do not breach confidentiality. They simply seek clarity on timelines, evidence reviewed, and statements in the report. I ask that I be permitted to ask them fully and respectfully so the Commissioner can respond.
That's fine. I guess I question, as I've asked all of council in the past, if there are questions for clarity, to either provide the questions to the staff member, or in this case, the Integrity Commissioner in advance, or reach out to me in advance of the meeting. And I'm just kind of, I guess my question would be, why have you not taken those steps as I repeatedly advised you in the past?
You usually try to advise me to reach out in advance to everyone outside of council, and that's not permitted. So that's why I don't do that.
I don't know. Well, you know what?
Okay. This is a point of personal privilege.
Councillor Schell, we're having a conversation here. Yep. Okay. I'll let you start, but if I feel you're going outside of what is proper, then I will ask you to stop, that's all.
Okay, well, this report was just presented to the public and myself since Friday. It's in our agenda, so I would like to speak to it. I have some questions to ask, and I'd like some answers so that I can formulate how I want to go with this tonight, how I want to vote. So my first question, Commissioner, is the front page of this report has a date of October 28th, 2025. And on the last page, it's got all of which is respectfully submitted by John Ewart on November 18th, 2025. Can you explain that?
Certainly, through your worship. That's the first date, then the date on which it was first prepared. It was subsequently revised, your worship, and I can give you the revision dates. I'll just look at my documents. It was revised on actually November the 18th, and it was submitted to both the complainant and the member on November the 19th. So rather than changing the first reference date of October the 28th, the document as signed by myself speaks to the date on which it being the final report. As I indicated, your worship, there was a first report circulated, and this is the final report, that's presentation to council. And the date, your worship, you could take it as being November the 18th, 2025, being the date on which I signed off on the report.
Okay, thank you. My next question, the alleged violation took place on December the 11th, 2024, and the first time that council has been made aware of the complaint is on Friday, December 21st, 2025. More than a year later. This is far beyond the timelines for reporting specified in the Code of Conduct. Why has there been such a long delay?
Through your worship, perhaps the only thing I can tell you, it's still within the year. I appreciate that. It's a long time, but perhaps a workload and the fact that on this particular matter, I was dealing with several other complaints on behalf of your municipality. I understand that what the timelines are as provided for by the legislation, but in terms of completion of this, I'm approximately 2 months out of date.
Okay, thank you. And I understand it's a 12-page report, so, there's a few more questions here. On page 2, paragraph 6, it stated, I interviewed the member of council. It does not state that you interviewed the complainant. It would seem like that this would only be essential for conducting an investigation. So I think you explained why the complainant was not interviewed. Is that correct?
That's correct. The video speaks for itself, and I did speak to the member of council. If you want that date, your worship, that was June 5, 2025.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on page 5, the second paragraph, it states such statements were made prior to a vote being taken by a municipal council with respect to a motion which failed to obtain a seconder and was ultimately lost. The portion of the video that states you're reviewing shows a recorded vote being taken on the motion. The portion of the video that preceded this shows Councillor Bard seconding the motion, which was followed by more than an hour of discussion. Please identify the evidence that caused you to conclude that council voted on a motion that failed to obtain a seconder.
Through your worship, that was based on my review at the 5-hour, 26-minute mark as directed by the complainant.
Okay, thank you. On page 5, paragraph 3, under the heading Nature of the Complaint, it is stated as directed by the complainant. I have reviewed the video proceeding of council on December the 11th and the statements by the member being at the 5-hour, 26-minute mark of the meeting. Not being aware of the motion being seconded and put on the floor for discussion appears to indicate that you did not view the full notice of motion agenda item that began more than an hour earlier, about 4.1 mark of the meeting. Yet on page 9, paragraph 4, it states, I approached the inquiry with the conduct of the member in mind, which the statements made by the member of council. The context in this case being the debate on the merits of a motion. If this is correct, it is concerning as the comments by the member are tied to the discussion that took place prior to the 5-minute 26 mark. So did the complainant make a request that you ask the IC not to view and consider the portion of the meeting that dealt with the entire notice of motion agenda item?
Through your worship, correct. The complainant said you're to view the video of December 11, 2024 at the 5-hour, 26-minute mark. And that is what I did. I don't look at 5 hours of proceedings, your worship. I mean, I could, but I'm guided once again, as I said earlier, by the complaint itself, guided by both the direction provided and as well as the sections on which I'm to look at. And again, looking at the complaint itself, specifically 5-hour, 26-minute mark. But I did carry on at 5 hours, 26 minutes to about 2 minutes thereafter, so I could hear the full statement by the member, so I could appreciate the context on which what the member say in the full statement by the member, which I assumed what the member was or the complainant was speaking of. But once again, I'm guided by the complaint. I don't go looking to fill in sections or additional evidence. It's complaint driven, your worship.
Okay, thank you. Beginning on page 10, it states, as a second general matter, an integrity commissioner should be reluctant to inquire into allegations of bullying, abuse, intimidation, or harassment unless brought by the person alleged to have been bullied or harassed. This was the finding of the integrity commissioner in Miller Bath, Hayden, 2020, paragraph 65-70. My further investigation states the IC's reliance on Miller Bath Hayden is misapplied. The correct reading of the decision is Miller Bath Hayden 2020 states that in many harassment cases it is preferable if a complaint comes from the victim. It does not say an IC cannot investigate if the complaint is from someone else, or that an IC is absolved of responsibility to assess conduct publicly observable on video, or that an IC may skip interviewing the victim. With an awareness in this instance, there are extenuating circumstances that include the victim requiring accommodation. Would you consider investigating further?
Your worship, I don't understand the question. What Miller Bath Hayden stands for, your worship, is just what I said earlier. It is perhaps beneficial if the individual who's the subject of the conduct or the comments comes forward because it is complaint driven. But in this particular case, in the context, I had neither a complaint by the recipient of the comments or the recipient or the individual to which the comments were directed or the conduct. But the Miller Bath Hayden stands for what it says. I don't have the full case in front of me, but it certainly is. I think the second paragraph at that section is that the role of the integrity commissioner is complaint driven. And that means in the case of an alleged contravention of municipal code of conduct, it would be expected that the person who was impacted by the member statement would have initiated the complaint. I think that goes without saying. I think that's part of the whole idea behind a complaint driven. I'm not saying for a moment, your worship, that others cannot complain, in which I accepted, and it was on that basis that I pursued this inquiry. If it had been a strict reading of Miller Bath Hayden, this inquiry would never have gotten off the ground. But I did not do that.
Okay. Thank you. Just a couple more here. Throughout the report, it references code expectations of honesty, transparency, abstaining from making statements that ought to be known as false or with intent to mislead counsel of the public. In the portion of the meeting that you viewed, beginning at the time 5 hours 5, there was a copy of the notice of motion and the entire statements made by the member. Additionally, the Municipal Act sets out requirements for transparency. There are laws about conducting council business in quorum that could be violated by sending information out in advance and a chain quorum conducted in sequence among members. There are workplace harassment regulations, and there are regulations about accommodating people with disabilities. The councillor making the remarks was present when the clerk verified that there was not an expectation of a member securing a seconder prior to council meetings. We all have been cautioned about avoiding breaking quorum rules. In this situation, the victim who was not interviewed has hearing difficulties and wears hearing aids, and it was made known to all councillors the requirements to speak directly into the microphone. So what evidence and justification did the councillor interviewed give as proof of statement number 3? You were disruptive during a meeting. We all understand what Robert's rules are, and you chose actively to disregard them. And while doing so, did the member explain why he chose only to target the victim and not mention others, especially one member who the video shows violated Robert's rules by my count 12 times during the discussion?
Your worship, I can't answer that because that would be, it's information garnered through the inquiry and I'm prohibited from doing so pursuant to the legislation. It was provided in confidence. If the member wants to waive that, I can then get back to the member asking the question. But what is being asked of me is to disclose information that was garnered through the inquiry, and that's contrary to the confidentiality clause provided for by the legislation.
I get it. So, all right, my closing statement then. Thank you, Mayor, and through you to the Integrity Commissioner. I appreciate the Commissioner's responses to the questions I've asked, because the report before Council involves factual findings drawn from specific timelines, evidence, and statements within the December the 11th meeting. I believe it is essential that Council have a complete, clarified, and accurate record before making any determination. It is not my intention to criticize personally, rather the outstanding question highlight areas where additional clarification, context, or review could meaningfully assist Council in fulfilling its responsibilities under the Code of Conduct. For that reason, Mayor, through you, I wish to put forward the following motion, and I would like to ask Councillor Hutchinson if she would second it, based on her earlier talk today about harassment. The Council referred to the Integrity Commissioner's report dated November 18, 2025, back to the Integrity Commissioner for further consideration and clarification, and that the Commissioner be requested to review and respond to the specific process and evidentiary questions submitted to the clerk, and that the Commissioner provide a revised report to Council once this additional review is complete, prior to Council making any decision arising from this report. In light of the presentation made earlier, Councillor Hutchinson, I would be asked if you would second this motion.
With all due respect, Councillor Schell, I will not. You did not reach out to me ahead of time to discuss any of this. You are leveraging a discussion that I had that I brought forward on something that is completely unrelated to this particular situation, and I do not appreciate being put in this situation.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchinson.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, I see that that Councillor Schell has a motion he's putting forward, so I will ask if there is a seconder. I don't see any, so
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I will need a copy of that from the councillor. Thank you.
And I have, thank you for answering those questions, Mr. Ewert. And I have a question from Councillor Hutchinson and then from Councillor Young.
It's not a question, it's a statement. And Councillor Schell, I now know what's going to happen tomorrow on social media. I've been completely set up, and I do not appreciate it because it's going to nullify everything that I spoke to today.
Councillor Schell or Councillor Young?
Just let that sit in for a minute. Listen, I just got a comment on the reports here that I've been an investigator probably 35 years and conducted hundreds of investigations, and I've drafted hundreds of reports. analyzing evidence and make recommendations, including when I was at the Ontario Human Rights Commission, where based on the evidence, my analysis of the evidence, I recommended a board or no board inquiry. That's the level that I was at. But I enjoy reading legal opinions and court rulings from judges and how they analyze the evidence and what their conclusions were. I got to say, Commissioner, that I'm very impressed with your investigation, but more so your analysis of the evidence. It's very impressive, and clearly your decisions and conclusions are based on that evidence and your analysis of the evidence and reference to case law. So I just want to comment on that, you are a very competent IC, and I think it needs to be said to that effect, and I'm objective about this, but again, I've read your reports and over the years, and certainly you're competent, very competent, more than competent for this position.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for your comment. Okay, if there's any, yes, Councillor Schell.
Just a clarification from the clerk. Is anybody required to have a seconder before they come to council?
No, but
I asked the
okay,
clerk.
Please go ahead, Madam
Through
Clerk.
you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Schell. No.
Thank you.
You may ask on the floor.
Yes. No.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, Madam Clerk. But as I just want to make a statement here for you so you understand. We've had meetings during orientation, and it's been clearly articulated multiple times to council, and it's been you know, whether you're listening to me or not, is I can't speak for, but I've recommended to everybody, when you bring a motion forward that's not already on the agenda, or if you want to amend a motion or bring another alternate, that I recommend to every member of this council to secure your seconder in front before the meeting, so that, you know, it doesn't just get left out there and never makes the floor. Some people have in the past, Councillor, seconded your motion just to get it to the floor because to save the not humiliation, or may not be the right word, but the not trying to respect, but if council doesn't feel confident in the motion that's before them, I understand. Some put it on the floor just so that we can move on, and others just don't feel comfortable doing it. So.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Greenwald. And a question to the Integrity Commissioner. Under the Code of Conduct, is what the Mayor telling us that we should get a seconder before we come to council. Is that a necessary thing? Because I understand that could lead to could lead to a chain reaction of putting something into like out of quorum. You got 4 people that was down the line. I just need some clarification on that.
Your Worship, I can't answer that. That's a procedural matter. That's outside my jurisdiction as IC. I appear before you this evening, as an Integrity Commissioner. I think that's a more appropriate question for your solicitor, a township solicitor, rather than myself. So I'm going to decline to answer that, Your Worship, only because my role is not to give advice to the municipality as it relates to procedural matters under the Municipal Act or conduct of council meetings, but rather IC matters.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor Greenwald.
Thank you. Okay. So if there's no more questions, we're going to, Madam Clerk, can we have the motions for the 2 items presented by Mr. Ewart, please?
Mr. Mayor, we passed the first motion. May I have a mover and a seconder for the second motion?
Councillor Hutchison and Councillor Young.
So Young and Hutchison, okay. Moved by Young, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that the report dated October 28, 2025, and presented by John Ewart, Ewart O'Dwyer, Re OM, IC, report file 3347, be received.
All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Mr. Ewert, I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate you taking time to give clarity to everybody's questions this evening. And, wish you a Merry Christmas. If we don't get a chance to chat between now and then. Oh, yeah, we are, yes, but I'm thinking in the public. So, okay, so now, Madam Clerk, there are no notice of motions, no bylaws. Are we going to go back into close at this time, please? So can I have a motion to go and close?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that we do now go into closed session at 6:31 p.m. to discuss litigation affecting the municipality, solicitor-client privilege, ward boundary appeal.
You heard the motion. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, we'll see everyone in closed.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we are live.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. May we have a motion to rise and report out from close, please?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that we do now rise at 6:55 p.m. and report on the closed session item 18B. Yvonne Aubuchon, clerk, and John Eward O'Dwyer, LLP, re-litigation affecting municipalities, solicitor-client privilege, ward boundary appeal.
All in favor? Opposed? None? That's carried. May we have a draft motion for the confirmation bylaw?
Mr. Mayor, we will have a motion coming out of
sorry,
closed.
18B. My apologies.
Yep. That's okay. Moved by Clark, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that the confidential verbal information presented by Yvonne Aubuchon, clerk, and John Eward O'Dwyer, LLP, re-litigation affecting the municipality, solicitor-client privilege, ward boundary appeal be received, and that staff and legal counsel proceed as directed by council.
All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. May we have a draft motion for the confirmation bylaw, please?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-127, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on Wednesday, November 26, 2025, be passed in open council on the 26th day of November 2025.
All in favor? That is carried. And may we have a motion to adjourn?
Moved by Young, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 6:57 p.m.
All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a great evening and a great weekend.